Ready?
Yep.
Good evening, everyone. We are having our second electronic meeting, but the first full council meeting electronically. It's Tuesday, April 14th. All of council is present. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next is the adoption of the agenda. And Mark, are there any changes on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. If we could move item 3 up to item 1, so that our applicant can participate more easily in the meeting, that would be appreciated.
Okay, so under formal agenda, we're going to move item number 3. We're going to make that in the number 1 position. If no other changes, is there a motion to adopt? And I'll do a roll call so y'all can unmute as I call you. I for me, Dan. Dan, is there do you approve the agenda?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Larry? You're on mute, Larry. Bridget?
Yes.
Okay. Larry did a thumbs up.
Yes.
That's unanimous. Next are adoption, and y'all just stay unmuted right now. Next are the adoption of the minutes. First was the regular meeting on March 17th. Were there any changes? If none, I'll do a roll call for the adoption of the minutes for March 17th. Lisa, yes. Dan?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
That's unanimous. And the next set of minutes was our emergency meeting minutes of March 31st. Were there any changes? If none, is there a motion to accept the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you. All in favor? And I will go through roll call. Lisa, aye. Dan?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
That's unanimous. Terry, I didn't do a first and second on the first set. Is that okay? I didn't do a motion and a second. Is that okay? Okay. Next, we have presentations, celebrations, and recognitions. The first is Fair Housing Month, and I will read through it for everyone. It's Fair Housing Month proclamation, whereas April 11th, 2020 marks the 52nd anniversary of the signing of Title 8 of the 1968 Civil Rights Act as amended, which guarantees fair housing opportunities for all Americans. And whereas the town of Bluffton desires that all its citizens be afforded the opportunity to attain a decent, safe, and sound living environment. And whereas the town of Bluffton rejects discrimination on the basis of race, religion, color, sex, national origin, disability, and or family status in the sale, rental, or provision of other housing services. And whereas as a community, we welcome all good neighbors, recognizing the contributions and richness tendered by a wide variety of young and old, male and female, people of all colors, ethnic backgrounds, and religious traditions. Now, therefore, I, Lisa Sulka, Mayor of Bluffton, along with Bluffton Town Council, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2020 as Fair Housing Month in the town of Bluffton, to establish Bluffton as an inclusive community committed to fair housing for all residents and prospective residents of Bluffton. I did just realize I passed the invocation. So after I do this, we'll go back and do the invocation, Bridget. Next is Town of Bluffton Arbor Day proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas the holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. Whereas trees reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, lower our heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air and water, produce oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. Whereas when properly selected, planted in the right places, and tended appropriately, trees in our town increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. Now therefore, I, Lisa Sulka, Mayor of the Town of Bluffton, along with Town Council, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 24th as Arbor Day in the Town of Bluffton and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. Further, I urge all citizens to plant and care for trees to promote the well-being of this and future generations. And finally, is Child Abuse Prevention Month. Whereas South Carolina's future prosperity is dependent on nurturing the healthy development of the 1.1 million children currently residing in diverse communities across our state. Whereas preventing child abuse must be a community priority that requires all individuals, families, child-serving organizations, schools, faith-based groups, businesses, government agencies, colleges, and civic leaders to support the physical, emotional, social, and educational development and competency of all children. Whereas parents and caregivers who have a circle of friends and family know how to help find help in times of need and understand how children grow and are better equipped to take on life's challenges and provide a safe and caring environment for their children. Whereas in fiscal year 2019, there were 10,474 children in founded investigations of child maltreatment in South Carolina. Whereas the Town of Bluffton, in conjunction with Hopeful Horizons Child Abuse Prevention Association, CAPA, and concerned citizens around the state designate April as Child Abuse Prevention Awareness Month in the Town of Bluffton. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Lisa Sulka, Mayor of the Town of Bluffton, along with Bluffton Town Council, do proclaim April 2020 as Child Abuse Prevention Month in the Town of Bluffton. That's all the presentations. We will go back a little out of turn and do the invocation. I do apologize for that. So Bridget, invocation, please.
Heavenly Father, we come assembled in your name, thanking you for life. We ask right now that you bring us peace in a time of turmoil and understanding in moments of frustrations. We extend support to our neighbors in Hampton and surrounding communities who've been impacted by the recent devastation of tornadoes. We ask that you provide them comfort in their time of bereavement. We ask that you bless us all and keep us united and dedicated to each other, not only now, but long after the crisis of the recent events are over. We ask these and all the blessings in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Bridget. Moving on to public comment. Ms. Chapman?
We have no public comment.
Okay, there is no public comment. All of our public comment is received electronically during this time. So please, if you want public comment in the future, go online and you can fill out a form and we will read it through the 3 minutes that you would have allotted. Communications from mayor and council. You want to, I can just roll down. Dan, anything?
Yes, Mayor, I just again want to thank the citizens for doing an outstanding job of listening to the governor and the president. And unfortunately, our streets are bare, but it just shows that the call of action from you and others is taking heed. And I ordered my blue ribbons today. I wish I'd gotten them sooner to support our police and our first responders. And I want to encourage the rest of the citizens to put up that blue ribbon also. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Fred, anything?
I think Dan pretty much said what needed to be said, so I pass.
Okay. Larry, anything?
No, not really. We're all in this together. We all know what's going on, and just everyone has to hold on tight and keep riding, and we'll get through this, and hopefully it's sooner than later.
Great. Thank you, Larry. Bridget, anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to echo Dan's sentiments and also offer support to those, as stated, in Hampton who've been affected by the tornado. Many of those residents work in our area, and a few people have reached out and how they can help. And I know that the Jasper Sheriff's Office has a Facebook page where they're collecting items and non-perishables for those families. So anyone who's looking at how to help in the intermediate as well as follow safety precautions, you're encouraged to go to that page or reach out to them. They have a lot of great information and how you can be useful for that.
Right. Bridget, if you could share that with the town, we'll get Lindsay and Debbie to push that out on social media. Our prayers are with them all over our state. I just, I have my heritage banner behind me and a little, disappointed we aren't in the midst of Heritage Week, because so much of that money comes back to our town with scholarships for our kids and all the nonprofits. And I know we'll be back with a vengeance and be able to fill those coffers of our nonprofits soon. So I'm doing an honor the heritage behind me. And I just thank all of you for doing everything you can to give back and be available and around. And I think our residents notice that. So thanks to everyone, staff, everyone on this page. So that's all I have. Next, we have item 9, which is communications from Town of Bluffton Emergency Manager, Captain Chandler. Good
Hello, Mayor.
evening.
Mayor and council, thank you for the opportunity. I'll just give you a quick update of what we're doing here at the PD. We're actively enforcing the executive orders from the governor. Those include the social distancing, access restrictions to public beaches and water, closures of non-essential businesses, lodging and travel restrictions, and the latest home or work order. Some other things we're doing, we've partnered with Bluffton Township Fire Department on a decon process. We're cleaning our buildings at least 3 times a day, if not more. We're self-monitoring for symptoms. We're taking our temperatures before we enter the building. And most recently, following CDC recommendations, town staff are either wearing an N95 mask or one of these fancy cloth masks. It's one of my favorites right here. We do have to understand that in Beaufort County, there's 198 positive cases. That includes 7 deaths. So we have to take this serious and follow the governor's orders. I do recommend that people check out the South Carolina Emergency Management Division's website. You've got information on governor's executive orders, lists of non-essential businesses, and ways to help or donate items. That's about it.
Any questions for Captain Chandler? Y'all raise your hand. I'm none. Captain, thank you. And I know if people would just stop looking for loopholes in the orders, it'd be a lot easier on y'all. You are dispersing groups that are gathering more than 3 or more in areas. Do you want to speak
Yes,
a little
ma'am.
bit to that?
Educate on a regular basis. If we just do the things that are in the orders, we'll be good.
Thank you very much. Any other questions of Captain Chandler? Thank you. Stay safe.
Yes, ma'am.
Next is item number 10 is the workshop item. It's discussion relating to residential solid waste and recycling collection services. Brian, you are up.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Are y'all able to see that?
Yes.
Can you see the
yes,
screen?
We can
Okay.
see it, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So just a quick background on this topic. The town entered into a contract with Waste Management back in 2010 for residential waste and recycling services. The initial term of the contract was 3 years with an ability to extend that contract for an additional 2-year term. In 2014, there was an amendment that extended the contract to June 2018. And that also had an extension built into it that if either party wanted to continue the contract, it would do so automatically until June 2020, which is coming up in about 2 months. So we advertised a request for proposals, posted that online, sent it out to area waste haulers and waste collectors, and we received 3 submittals on March 24th. That was Waste Management, Republic Services, and Waste Pro. There's a town staff evaluation committee that evaluated it based on certain criteria such as methodology, experience, schedule, and cost. After reviewing all those items, staff recommends a waste management contract to be presented to town council. coming up in May. And so for tonight, I wanted to bring a few things to your attention. The current contract, the rate is $9.92 per household per month. Currently, we, as of last count, we have about 9,289 households. The FY20 budget was $1.144 million. When you multiply the 9.92 times household per month times 9,289 households, our finance department did a really good job estimating that FY20 budget, because we're about $40,000 shy of that budget based on that count. So it's a really good estimation based on growth. I think they got that from our growth management department. Currently, we have a weekly collection of a 96-gallon trash cart and an 18-gallon recyclable bin. So I gotta move on. So what was submitted were two base, or one was a base service price proposal and one was an alternate service price proposal. The base price proposal was a 96-gallon cart for trash. That was $6.09 a residential unit per month. And then the current 18-gallon bin, which turned out to be $6.55 per residential unit per month, for a total base proposal of $12.64 residential unit per month. So that's an increase of just under $3 a month based on what we currently have, about $2.70. The alternate price proposal was for a bi-weekly collection of recyclables in a 96-gallon cart, so similar to the trash cart. That lowers the price to $5.01 per residential unit per month, or $11.10 residential unit per month total. So that's only an increase of about $1.20 per residential unit per month. Some other items that they offered in their proposal, they're offering a cost-effective way for maybe neighborhood cleanups, or if you had a large construction project at your house. It's called a bagster. It's basically a dumpster in a bag. So instead of having a large metal bin put in your front yard, they'll deliver a bag for you. This is at a cost, but it's a program that they offer. It allows you to use that bag, fill it up, and then they'll dispose of it. So it's a lot easier. It's a lot more manageable than the current roll-off dumpsters. So we could use that for neighborhood cleanups. They also want a partnership with us for certain events such as the Special Olympics, the May River Cleanup. They want to be a key partner for the 43 Key Seconds program. They specifically identify that in their proposal. They want to be a partner with us for the Christmas parade, Relay for Life, etc. So some alternatives that we wanted to discuss with you all before we bring the contract to you is we need your guidance on selection of either the weekly or the bi-weekly recycling. Again, the weekly is only in an 18-gallon bin. The bi-weekly would be a 96-gallon cart. That's a $1.54 difference per residential unit per month. Based on current household count, that's a savings of about $172,000 a year. Again, for your consideration, the bi-weekly option costs less. It results in fewer trucks on the roads. It's a higher level of service. Each pickup basically results in a 433% increase in material. So you're going to have more in that bin, obviously, at 96 gallons every other week than you would in an 18-gallon bin every week. Probably one of our #1 complaints or requests is for a 96-gallon recycling cart. A lot of people complaining that the recyclables will blow away when it's windy in the bin. Animals might get into it. The 96-gallon cart is secure. It prevents those material from being distributed, from wind picking it, from animals getting into it. It's just more secure. I don't know why that happened. So I guess that's the end of my presentation, I guess. I can go back to a slide if you need it, or I'm happy to discuss further with you what Waste Management proposed.
Does everybody, if you have questions, maybe at the time, ask Brian to go back on your slide. On my computer, I actually opened up the agenda so I can scroll and follow you. But let's just go down. Dan, I'll start with you. Any questions or comments on this for Brian? This is not going to be voted on tonight. It's just a workshop item. You're unmute, Dan. Unmute, Dan.
Sorry about that. Mayor, couple questions. Is there a difference in color between the containers?
I honestly don't know. I will have to find that out. I don't know. Usually
I think-
recyclables is considered blue and trash is green, but I can find that out for sure. I don't know.
I would like to know. And then also, you know, the recycling program has been a hit and miss as long as I can remember being on council. And, you know, then we discovered, I guess, last year that if one neighbor on the street puts the wrong ingredient into their recycling bin, then it's considered contaminating the entire thing. It gets put on the truck. My point about that is, it seems like we might encourage them, and maybe they're going to add some kind of nomenclature on the side of the recyclable container, expressing clearly to the citizens on what should and should not be allowed to go in the recyclable container.
We could talk to them about that. I know in their proposal, they offered basically a revamped educational program detailing what would be allowed, what's not allowed. They have a sticker, I believe, that they put on the bin. If it says this was contaminated, this is why. It's kind of like an informational flyer, you know, for future. But we can talk to them about that to see if we can get something on the carts themselves to be permanently there. I don't know.
I would appreciate that. I think that would be better served than just a flyer, because people come and go. People do rentals, all kinds of different people come into the picture. And so if they put it right on the container, that's a good way to solve that problem.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
I believe the mayor's muted.
I am muted. Thank you. Fred, did you have any comments or questions?
No, Brian, I'll talk to you later. I have some, I have a few questions, but I believe I don't want to belabor the time, but I'll talk to you later about my concerns, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Larry?
Just a couple. Thank you, Mayor.
Mhm.
I can only say that the larger recycling bin and biweekly, in my opinion, would be a great advantage to all of us. If there's one thing that I see is the smaller bins that get full, and once that recycling bin gets full and you still have some more stuff, it normally goes into the garbage. So I would think, you know, not only because it would be cheaper biweekly with a bigger container, but it just makes more sense. And I think we'd end up recycling more stuff than we're doing now. That's just my opinion. Thank you. That's all.
Okay, Bridget, anything for Brian?
Yeah, just a comment. I understand or see that the biweekly option would be more cost efficient to us, but seeing the way that trash is currently collected, my only concern would be with that option that it would be a pileup almost of the current waste as it's being collected. Because looking at the green bins, when those pickup times come, that once a week time period, it seems that residents, you know, are able to take advantage of that, as that's the opportune time for them to put all the trash out. So it would almost be like, what would be the drawbacks of the biweekly collection? Would it mean that residents would have to do more dumping of their waste at the actual drop-off sites?
No, so the waste, your garbage, would be every week as it is now. It's just the recycling would go every other week. So yeah, if you really loaded up a 96-gallon cart and you couldn't wait anymore, you would have to go to one of the community service centers that the county offers.
Gotcha.
And that was a question I had too. So every week stays the same for trash.
Yes, ma'am.
And then bi-weekly would be recycling. Just a couple things. I think we're gonna have to figure out how to, and I'm sure they do this elsewhere, so ask them how they educate the change, because it is gonna be a little bit of time. I think that it's gonna be confusing for people. And then the Baxter dumpster, which I love, I've tried to order it in the past actually, and they say it's not available here. So could you
It
just
was-
make sure they're gonna make it available?
Yes, ma'am. It was specifically like highlighted and called out in their proposal. So we will definitely make sure it's here. I think actually it says one of the new items that we have in our region is this Bagster program. So it was a specific section within there. So we will make sure that's highlighted in the contract that we bring to you next month.
Right, yeah. And then finally, the partnerships, is that the list, or could we somehow put in there others to be agreed upon? Because something else may come up. I just
Right.
want to be stuck to that one list of partnership.
Right. So when we, once I get guidance from you and it sounds like we're heading towards the biweekly recycling, then we will basically begin negotiations with Waste Management. And that is all on the table. We can say it's definitely these items plus more, or, these, but not limited to, we can write that in the contract that we bring to you. So if that's something you want us to proceed, we can go after it.
Well, it sounds like, unless someone unmutes, it sounds like we are interested in the biweekly. But you heard the difference in color. I do agree. I think, is a 96-gallon bin what we have for trash right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that, I think we got to check on color differentiation. I love Dan's idea on what could be recycled just on the lid, maybe. What could go in there. It's a great idea. And Bridget, I think your concern on the drawbacks of the biweekly, he covered that. The trash would be weekly. Anything else from anyone? Great, thank you. I'm
So,
excited about that.
so we want to proceed with the contract for biweekly recycling and weekly trash.
Do I hear anyone against that? Because this is just a workshop item, but he's got to proceed.
I'm in favor of doing that.
Same here.
I thought we wasn't voting on this tonight.
We're not, but do you
We're
want bi-weekly or weekly? That's what he needs to move forward on, Fred.
For the
Well-
contract, yeah.
Even if we make a decision bi-weekly or weekly, I still think, that's why I want to talk to Brian a little bit later, but I still think we need to talk about the contract we have today with Waste Management. I think I want to make sure Waste Management is going to be not only competitive to other trash collectors, but we had some hiccups with them in the past that we need to make sure that they're gonna address if we decide to move forward with Waste Management.
Brian,
Yes,
but
yes, ma'am.
won't
We continue to get customer service calls. I don't think that would ever go away with any provider. We had several today and they were very responsive to us. I have a call tomorrow morning to deal with one of them. It's something that we're continually trying to improve and just give a better customer service experience to the residents. So I understand that, and it's something we're always working with Waste Management on.
Okay, get with Fred. I would get with him soon, but it sounds like everyone's all right with the bi-weekly, and then then we'll vote on the actual contract later. This is just
Yes.
where you want to focus.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much, Brian. Next is formal items, and we have Willie Powell on for any questions. He's representing the item number 3, which is now number 1, and this is Heather's up. Consideration of approval for an amendment to the master plan for property referred to as Pinecrest within the Buckwalter Plan Unit Development for purposes of modifying a portion of Pinecrest Way to one-way traffic westbound only from Pinecrest Amenity Parking Lot to Masters Way. Again, Heather's going to give the presentation. If y'all have questions for her or Mr. Powell, he can come off mute and answer any questions we may have of him. So Heather, you're up.
Thank you. Let me get my screen shared here. Sorry, bear with me while I get this up for you. Sorry, there's a little delay here. Okay. Now let me get it on my screen here. Okay, so everybody can see that and hear me well. So this is an amendment to the master plan for the Pinecrest community. So this request is from Willie Powell of Ward Edwards Engineering on behalf of the owner, the Pinecrest Property Owners Association. And you will notice that this did start out with a different applicant in the packet. And the Properties Owners Association did switch, and Willie Powell of Ward Edwards does represent them at this point. This project does propose to make a portion of Pinecrest Way from two-way traffic to one-way, and this modification would extend from Masters Way to the last entrance for that, to restrict the access again from Masters Way. So people would not be able to make the movement from Masters Way into Pinecrest community from that location. A little bit of background, this subject roadway lies within, like I said, the Pinecrest master plan that was originally approved in January of 2002 and then was further amended in September of 2002. The only improvements that they're proposing at this time is to change and install, if it were to be approved, traffic arrow pavement markings along Pinecrest Way and one-way signage along Pinecrest Way to direct that amenity-related movements, and then also to place do not enter signage at the intersection of Pinecrest Way and Masters Way. Staff did provide comments on this in June, and then also at the Development Review Committee, which they have responded to. And the Planning Commission voted at their February 26th meeting to recommend that Town Council approve the master plan amendment with the condition that the applicant provide proof via certified mailing receipt that the 13 affected property owners were notified of the request. And we did receive those notifications, and we also further confirmed through the Postal Service that they were sent and received. This here shows the map of the area that we're talking about. So right here is the intersection at Bluffton Parkway and Masters Way. And then you see, let's see, you can see the red dots there. Those show where the signage would be installed. That would say do not enter. And it would primarily affect that loop that you see right near the clubhouse. So the rest of the internal traffic for Pinecrest would allow to operate two-way. It just would be this portion. And the goal is really from the Pinecrest Property Owner Association is to limit the incoming traffic that uses that area as to bypass that main intersection to go through that Pinecrest community. This here is an aerial. That red dotted line shows the portion of the road that it would affect. And again, just another map that shows where those arrows would be and shows the movement. So those homes could exit the Pinecrest community onto Masters Way. However, they would not be able to enter there. Just some more aerial views, Google Map. This here is just to show you that the POA did approve this request. They voted unanimously to proceed. Staff had been working with the Property Owners Association for actually the past several years on different alternatives, treatments, suggestions as to how they could really just get that traffic, to stop using that as a cut through. They had speeding issues that were addressed with the police department's assistance, parking issues, and primarily it was focused around the school times. Going through the review criteria, I won't go through all these in detail, but I'm happy to if you have any questions. Staff did review it according to the review criteria as well as the Planning Commission, and we found that it did meet the criteria and was consistent. Again, the Planning Commission's recommendation was to recommend approval with that condition, which they have met. It just shows they've met that. And again, this just is to reiterate that tonight, we're asking that you either approve the application as submitted, approve it with conditions, or deny the application as submitted. I will just add some of the details of the application. The applicant used the traffic assessment that was provided as part of the Hilton Head Christian Academy's request. So it did review the intersections at Masters Way, Pinecrest Way, and also those at the Parkway. It did not take into account internal movements. There's information in your packet that discusses the review with the AM and PM peak hour trips and the amount of trips that they do believe are using that. They believe that it would only be approximately 10 trips that do that movement. And this would all, this is all in conjunction with those improvements that are required as part of the Hilton Head Christian Academy. So they took into account those assumptions, those improvements that will be made as part of the Christian Academy's development plan. So like I said, Willie Powell is on the call and he is prepared to answer any questions you have, or if you have any questions before that, I'm happy to answer.
Okay, thank you, Heather. And is Willie gonna get a video going? Where is he? There he is.
He's here.
Hi, Willie. Okay, any questions of the applicant or of Heather? I'll start with Dan.
No, Mayor.
In Fred?
Yes. Was the Hilton Head Christian Academy at the meeting when this was discussed at Planning Commission?
I do not believe they were in attendance.
Are they familiar with the changes that we're making?
I believe so, but I'm not 100% certain. I would defer to the applicant.
Okay,
question.
can you
Valid
ask the
question.
applicant that question?
Willie, you can answer that.
Councilman Hamilton, I do not know if the Christian Academy was actively involved. The primary concern for the Pinecrest POA was to try to limit and prohibit the number of movements that were coming into Pinecrest off of Masters Way. They've noticed a lot of that traffic is due to school. A lot of it occurs during post-school times. And so they were involved with the Christian Academy's approval. They're, I think, quite vocal as a part of the Christian Academy approval process. But I don't know that the Christian Academy has, other than public noticing, was aware or involved in the decision to try to limit the movements into Pinecrest.
I'm not suggesting that they should have a strong opinion, but I think it's just good when you're trying to make good neighbors, you let everybody should be informed of what the changes may be or what the expectations are.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Larry, anything?
Yes, I'll follow up on what Fred mentioned there. Christian Academy was well aware of what Pinecrest wanted to do from the very beginning. We talked about it dozens of times that I remember. They agreed in our final agreement with them for their development plan to work with Pinecrest and to help do whatever they could do, whether it's the traffic study or whatever, to help alleviate the problem that they were having with the traffic cutting through their, mainly school traffic. So I know that they were, go ahead, Heather.
Sorry, I didn't mean to chime in, but I do have a comment after. The Hilton Head Christian Academy actually did work with Pinecrest. They're actually the ones that shared the traffic assessment from the application. So they are fully aware of the request and are in support.
Right.
Sorry, and I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, that's fine. I was just clarifying that I'm glad that they were able to work it out, and I can't wait to see the new improvements to the road and the red light come in there. That's all I have.
Thank you, Larry. Bridget, any questions or anything you want to ask of either Willie or Heather?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Just a couple of things for either one of y'all. Was there any public comment? I'd look at the 13 homeowners on this, and really 9 of them, if they want to go to the club, are going to have to go out Masters Way, take a right, and take a right. And there was no public comment from any of those owners?
The 13 homeowners are the ones that brought this recommendation to the POA.
Okay.
And they've had multiple discussions with the POA and the body, and they are fully supportive of this. This is their recommendation, and they're kind of the ones that are wanting this because it mostly affects them. So they're hopeful to have this done and be able to implement it prior to the next session being back in, which we're all praying happens soon.
Right. And then the other thing, do we know who owns Masters Way? If I believe I remembered that the Christian Academy ended up taking over, which is an even more important reason that they are going to allow Pinecrest now to use it. If at some point they, I just want to make sure that those community members can use Masters Way 10 years from now. I mean, is there going to be something written to take care of that? If it's
You are correct. Masters Way is owned by Hilton Head Christian Academy. They did purchase that right away. I'm not aware of any changes to any as far as the use of that road, but as part of any encroachment permits, we'll ensure that. And I don't know if Willie Powell has anything to add.
All I would add is any improvements or signage would be done on the Pinecrest property, not within the Masters Way right away.
Well, it was more the car leaving and wanting to turn left or right on a road that's owned by another entity. But just a question, just something I think we got to keep in mind. I see Mark and I see Dan. I'll go with Mark.
Yeah.
Or Dan, let's do Dan.
Go ahead. I was just going to touch on what your point was, Mayor. I think there should be something written. And when you think back to Larry's discussion, when this all took place months ago with the Christian Academy, there was lots of discussions about these very topics on that road. And would it be a private road? Would it be accessible? There's nothing wrong with having that clear for the residents going forward.
And Mayor, what I was going to add is that the Christian Academy project was approved contingent upon the use of that road for not only their project as well as all of the other community.
Right.
So the condition of approval is the access to that road. What we could do, and what I would ask Heather to do, is just so that we make sure that we document it as such. And I'll ask Heather to write a memo to the file in her name with her signature to document that and to confirm it. And then also put it in writing to the Christian Academy that that's the position and contingency of the approval.
Right.
Yes, we certainly can do that. And we do have an existing shared access agreement in place with that. And I can certainly add that to the memo and just confirm that with Hilton Head Christian Academy and all parties involved, should this be approved.
Right. Okay. If there are no other questions, is there a motion? Do you want me to read the motion? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the amendment to the master plan for the property referred to as Pinecrest within the Buckwalter Plan Unit Development for purposes of modifying a portion of Pinecrest Way to one-way traffic westbound only from Pinecrest Amenity Parking Lot to Masters Way?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, I'll roll call. Dan,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Lisa, yes, that's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, Willie. You're welcome to stay on or go on Facebook and look at the rest of it. But thank you for zooming in. Next is the consideration of an emergency ordinance authorizing the town manager to extend the deadline for payment of business license renewals, hospitality tax payments, and accommodations tax payments, and to waive late fees on payments due and not paid between April 1st, 2020 and June 1st, 2020 until June 1st, 2020. Chris, welcome. You're in.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. How are you? So this we have before you, as you all know, the pandemic has taken a particular toll on our local businesses, especially our small businesses. What you have before you is an emergency ordinance to provide a little bit of leniency on our tax and license deadlines. It does a few things. The first is the deadline for the collection of hospitality and accommodations taxes for the months of February, March, and April will be moved out until June 14th. The second thing it does is it moves out the business license renewal deadline from the date of April 30th until June 14th as well. And as you mentioned, it also suspends all late fees, late penalties and interest for taxes due between March 16th and June 14th. So this will delay the collection of approximately 1.4 million combined for those three sources until June 14th. And we have looked at our current cash balances in those funds, and we have sufficient cash flow to sustain us for that period of time. Any questions?
Okay, I'll start with Dan. Any questions?
No, ma'am.
Fred?
No questions.
Larry? You're on mute.
No questions, thank you.
Bridget?
No.
Chris, are you seeing late fees? I mean, like, are we accruing them now, or would this just eliminate it online?
So there have been some missed deadlines. I don't have the exact numbers for you tonight, but this would suspend those late fees between March 16th and June 14th. And as you all know, the hospitality and accommodation taxes are due on the 20th of the month for the previous month.
No other questions? Is there a motion to adopt the proposed emergency ordinance 2020-04 to temporarily extend tax compliance deadlines and waive all late penalties or interest in matters related thereto?
So moved.
Your second?
Second.
Any discussion? I think it's a great plan. Mark and Chris, thank y'all for working on it. I'll go through a roll count. Lisa, aye. Dan?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
That's unanimous. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Heather's back up. Final formal agenda item, consideration of a resolution amending the policy and procedure manual for the acquisition and disposition of real property by the town of Bluffton to incorporate an introduction outlining possible considerations for conveyancing, real estate transaction table and checklist, and add references to the growth framework map as appropriate. That was a mouthful. Heather, you're up.
Thank you. So I hope everyone can see this again on the screen. Like the mayor said, this is an amendment to the policy and procedure manual for acquisition and disposition of real property by the town of Bluffton. This is one of the strategic action plan agenda items that growth management staff was tasked with taking the lead to updating and bringing that with more criteria, and we'll go through all the things that we've included. Like I said, some of the things that we've included is incorporating an introduction outlining some of the considerations and reasons why we may acquire or sell property. Also a real estate transaction table, almost like a to-do checklist that you'll see here in a little bit. And then also references to the growth framework map and also some other town policies that we would reference as reasons for, like I said, acquiring or disposing of property. This is just a little bit of background through the code of laws that allows us to move forward with this. And just some more things. This process was adopted via resolution approving the manual back in April of 2017. And since then, we have conducted numerous real estate transactions for various projects and purposes. And so staff is proposing the inclusion of several revisions, again, to incorporate those reasons and guidance moving forward. Going through this, like I said, there's some things that we've added to there. One of those would be the creation, expansion, and/or enhancement of economic development reasons, and that's all listed there. Further aligns the town's affordable housing initiatives. Also reduction of future development levels in high density areas. So because of that, we incorporated a reference to that growth framework map. Preserve open space, public access. Further the goals just of other various town initiatives such as the strategic plan, the comprehensive plan, May River Action Plan, neighborhood plans, and so forth. And also to enact restrictive covenants on real property. So for example, if we were to purchase a piece of property that had, say, 50 dwelling units allotted to it, and we decided we wanted to sell that property with, say, only 10 or a reduction or something different, that would address that reason. And also just furthers environmental, wildlife, or other historic preservation efforts. Again, here is a list. This is not meant to be all encompassing, but just some various reasons that we may purchase property. And again, that's all listed there on the screen. Further criteria could include implementation of the town's capital improvement projects, due diligence activities. That would be more for when we would sell a piece, or excuse me, decide after we receive the due diligence documents, we may not want to move forward for whatever various reasons would come from that study. And then also any other purpose deemed necessary. Like I said, some further additions to the policy or the manual would be that reference to the growth framework map. So actually show where those areas are, that table or checklist. And then, like I said, just other ordinances related to development rights. So you have, again, the same authority for this. We're asking that you either approve the resolution that would adopt this manual, or approve it with revisions, or deny that resolution. And I can pull up the packet, or you also have it there. Like I said, that shows the table, the criteria, that reference to that map, and I'm happy to pull up and share whatever you all would like.
Great. I'll start with Dan, and just y'all ask her which sheet you want to pull up if you need to look at something. Do you have anything, Dan?
No questions.
Okay. Fred, any questions?
No questions.
Larry?
Yes, just one quick one. I was reading through all this. I don't have an issue or anything. The way I see it would just deal with each individual thing as it comes to us, and it still comes to us. It doesn't do anything other than basically just give you guys a guideline or checklist basically to check off, you know, all these items before it comes to us to make any buy, sell, trade, or giveaway decisions, correct?
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
Good. That was the question I had. Bridget, anything?
No questions.
So you're just putting together a checklist for y'all internally, is the way I read this, and everything else from the public's perspective, they still get the ability to listen to us at council discuss anything.
Yes, most certainly. This is meant to be a policy, a guide, a manual for all the information that staff would analyze, bring forward to you for your consideration. So that would remain the same. This is just more detailed instructions, so to speak.
Great. Okay. Well, if no other questions, is there a motion to approve the resolution amending the policy and procedure manual for the acquisition and disposition of real property by the town of Bluffton to incorporate an introduction outlining possible considerations for conveyances, a real estate transaction table and checklist, and add references to the growth framework map as appropriate?
I'd like to move to approve that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, and I'll do a roll call. Dan?
Yes.
Fred?
Yes.
Larry?
Yes.
Bridget?
Yes.
Lisa? Yes, that is unanimous. Thank you. Finally, we have consent agenda, which really has some, always say it has great information for those of you looking online. Please go to our agenda site and you can link into everything that we're doing in all of our departments. Is there anything you want to remove to have further discussion on? Nothing?
Yes.
Fred, you have something?
In our next meeting, Chief, I would like for you to give us an update on not only the pandemic response that you had to make, but also just give us an idea of how we are doing as far as crimes and based on, are we doing less crimes, more crimes based on last year this time? Can you help us out with that next time?
Yes, sir. I can give you a presentation next council meeting.
Thank you.
Yes,
So
sir.
that would be on the consent agenda next month, and we'll pull it off. Just have Chief prepared to discuss it during the consent agenda area. Is that what you're
Yes.
asking, Fred? Okay,
Yes.
so he's giving you the heads up. Next month, we'll pull you off a consent agenda and you'll go through it at that point, Chief.
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay, anything else? If not, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second,
Second.
any discussion? All in favor? Starting with Dan,
Yes.
Fred,
Yes.
Larry,
Yes.
Bridget,
Yes.
Lisa, yes, that's unanimous. Before adjournment, Terry, I love your jacket. Let's hope that comes back with a fury. So,
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mayor. This is the first time I've attended your April Town Council meeting in many, many years, because this is typically our Pro-Am party night for the Wednesday Pro-Am. So I appreciate being here. Mayor, I appreciate the lighthouse behind you. We will come back better and stronger than ever. We've been talking with the tour a great deal. We've also been talking with RBC and Boeing a great deal, as well as our secondary sponsors. We're going to do everything in our power this year to make our charities as whole as possible. That includes, I guess, the Bluffton football team, which does our ecology every year. So thank you. I felt the need to put the jacket on at least once this week, and I thought this was a good time to do it.
right. How about, Terry, the scholarships? I mean, is that part of making everything hold, or does that have some kind of funding mechanism for the kids, you know, next year and as it revolves?
We have a fund that is set aside to make sure that our scholars that are in the system now will be fully funded, even if we had to close down tomorrow. So all the scholars that are already in school, if you're a senior, your year is there. If you are an ingoing freshman, your 4 years are all set aside. So that money is in a separate ID, and it's set to the side. We've been having some very significant conversations with the tour. As I said, we have had I think about $45,000 worth of donations for people who bought tickets, who have just given up their refund right and have donated them. We're gonna make it. And Lisa, I know the fact that you wear this tartan jacket proudly this week also. So we thank Bluffton for everything you do for our tournament.
Great, great. Anything from anyone else before we adjourn? Okay, is it Fred? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn. Thanks for a nice meeting.
We're adjourned. We'll see y'all soon. Stay safe, stay home.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, buddy.